How you doing, pal?
I'm all right. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, this is, I hope we get through this. I hope we get out of this stuff. But I'm doing okay. You know, I'm hanging in there. There's a lot of people worse off than me. So today we got season 1, episode 6, Pax Soprana. It's written by Frank Renzulli, directed by Alan Taylor. And before we get into the whole thing, the whole episode, David Chase sent you quotes for the first time. He emailed you quotes or dialogue from the characters, the first time he's written them since 2007. And he was nice enough to let us read them.
Yeah, I think that things are tough right now, and with all the bad news and things that are going on, it's nice to have something to laugh about. And I think David thought it was important to bring some levity to the world, and he wrote these lines about the Soprano characters relating to the coronavirus.
It was very nice of him to do this.
Yeah.
And I love every minute of it. I wish I could do impressions of everyone, but
I wish I could.
But we're going to read them now. We're going to read
them now.
The first dialect, the first words from our great characters that we love.
This is exclusive.
Absolutely.
To the Talking Sopranos podcast. He loves the podcast, and he thought it would be appropriate for us to read them. So Steve and I are going to divvy them up. And here we go. The first one is Paulie Walnuts. People call me a germaphobe. Big laugh. Now, all I got to say is, see, motherfuckers? And I knew some fucking thing like this was going to happen. I saw the Holy Mother at Bada Bing. That's Paulie Walnuts. The next line is for Tony Soprano himself, who I can't imitate Jim or Tony Soprano, but here we go. Sports betting, fucking gone with the wind, along with professional sports. Me and my friends are dying over here. You know, the president might have a point. Let's get business, manufacturing going again. By Easter, May Day, whatever the fuck. Meadow. I should have gone to medical school. I feel so bad about my decision. Carmela. I'm so glad my daughter didn't go to medical school. Imagine where she'd be right now. Christopher. I can do this one. I've been to Hollywood. Out there, they should call it the swine flu. Adriana. I'd volunteer or something. I feel so bad. I've been crying a lot, but I got an underlying condition. Irritable bowel syndrome, right? I can't reach my doctor to find out if that would exclude me passing out masks or something. Melfi. I'm on the second line over the hospital. When and if those brave docs burn out, I'm up next. AJ. At one time, I wanted to work for Trump. You believe it? Fuck me, dude. And Carmela. We're not doing well with the quarantine at our house. It's making me face the music that this is a dysfunctional family. But it's keeping my husband in, which is good.
This is brilliant, brilliant.
All right.
I mean, this is gold. All right. Now my turn. This is Tony. Bing fucking shut down. My income stream was already compromised. We could keep the pork store open, though, they said. Essential critical infrastructure. Pork. Silvio. We told the girls we keep them all on furlough. Lap dance was the first to go. Junior. What's everybody upset about? Johnny Sack, it used to be part of our thing going to the mattresses. But this, Bobby Bacala. Last national emergency, I took all this shit because I got my predictions about it wrong. I said Quasimodo, T said Nostradamus. My wife bought a Nostradamus book, and I looked, and he didn't say anything about this. Weird thing is, though, my son Robert, he went to Notre Dame. Junior, I saw on Fox this jerk off, the lieutenant governor of Texas, said he didn't mind dying to help the economy cause he's over 70 with grandkids or some shit. Maybe we could help him out with that. Phil Leotardo, truckload of hand sanitizer. I'm cleaning up. Tony, in my Father's Day, you got polio, tuberculosis, whatever the fuck. You dealt with it. Whatever happened to Gary Cooper? Livia, you know what I'm going to say. Thank you, David Chase. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, David. That was a lot of fun. And
people are going to love that. I think they're
yeah. We need a little levity. Not like we're making light of this subject, but we need to laugh a little bit.
And what have you been doing otherwise besides this?
Well, watching a little TV, reading books. You watching a lot of TV?
Yeah. I watch.
What have you been watching lately?
You know, I've been watching. I miss baseball. It's baseball season. You're a big fan like me. I'm in the middle of a baseball, the Ken Burns documentary. It's from the 90s, 1994. It goes through the history of baseball. It's fantastic.
I've seen it. It's really good.
Yeah, Major League Baseball is airing it. Obviously, there's no baseball. So I've been watching that.
What's your favorite TV show of all time, besides The Sopranos?
Wow. You know, I was a big Odd Couple fan.
That's a good one.
70s sitcom, Jack Klugman.
Really good.
I got to meet him in Vegas. He was a good guy, just what you would think
Klugman?
He was. Yeah. Just what he was exactly what a regular guy who was an actor, you know, played the horses, big gambler, good guy. But I enjoyed that. I guess, you know, all those, I grew up in the 70s, all those sitcoms.
I didn't watch a lot of those.
What about
I'm watching
you?
a lot of news, too much news, because I'm obsessed with everything. And that's hard. You know, I watch TV before I go to bed, just to kind of take my mind. I have to watch something funny. I don't like watching anything violent or dark. So my favorite shows now on the air is American Dad. American Dad.
I did one of those.
You did do one. So did Sirico.
Yeah.
And I like Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I like that show.
Yeah, I don't like him. I like him. The show is good, but I'm not that big a fan.
The show is good. My all-time favorite show is The Honeymooners, even more than The Sopranos. And I still watch The Honeymooners. But there's a show. Have you ever seen The Royal Family?
No.
It's Royle, and it was a British sitcom. It was done around the same time we were on the air on The Sopranos. And it's this working class family in Manchester. And when you say like Seinfeld's a show about nothing, this is really a show about nothing.
Oh, really?
This makes Seinfeld look like, you know, a very heavy plot-driven show in comparison. It's almost in real time, and it's like you're in these people's living room. And you have to watch it, the whole series, because slowly over time things do happen, but why moment to moment they don't. It was written by this a woman named Caroline Ahern, who was one of the actresses. She passed away of cancer in 2016, and a guy named Craig Cash.
And where do you watch it?
I saw it on Netflix. I don't know if it's still available on Netflix. I saw it a while ago, but they tried an American version called The Kennedys. They just did a pilot, and I'm sure it was just shit. But this series, it's amazing. The lead guy, Ricky Tomlinson, is fantastic. The theme song is by Oasis. Noel Gallagher sings the lead.
And it's funny.
Song. It's funny. It's weird. There's actually, you know, they're sitting in their living room watching TV and just like talking about what's on TV. There's in one episode, they're watching Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. They actually you're watching it with them for like 10 minutes. It's very weird, but I think kind of incredible. You got to see it. It's a really good show.
You were a big Ricky Gervais fan. You are a big
Love Ricky Gervais. I like The Office. Blew my mind. I think it's one of the greatest, the British one of the great things ever done on TV.
And he came to visit us on the set. I was there.
He came to the set and we went out to dinner. I'm still in touch with Ricky. I love him. He's very smart.
You told me
guy.
to watch Afterlife, which is on Netflix, which is very funny and very sad.
Very sad. Well, Ricky's Ricky's very smart, man.
You
and a
know,
great
and
writer.
that's a really good show. Really, really
But
good.
there's
You know what?
a lot of iconic stuff I've never seen, which
I'm with
because I'm
you.
not a giant TV guy. I've never seen Breaking Bad.
Me
I've
neither.
never seen The Wire.
I've never seen
I've
it
never
either.
seen Narcos. I don't like the whole drug. It's not something that and I'm sure those shows are phenomenal. Everyone
Yeah.
says it, and I'm sure it goes beyond that, but it's not my thing so much. So
I've
I
never
don't know.
seen. I've never seen Ray Donovan. For not for any
I've
reason.
never seen that.
I've never seen one moment of Game of Thrones. I have no idea. I've never been a gladiator guy. Is it about gladiators? I have no idea. I honestly don't.
It's not about gladiators.
Oh no?
It's about it's like Lord of the Rings, that kind of mythology.
I never saw Lord of the Rings.
I like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I've never seen those
movies.
You know what I like? Schitt's Creek. Very funny.
Never seen
Eugene Levy, very, very funny.
I like him.
His son is funny. They just had the finale. I've been watching that. And you know what I watch? My daughter is a Lifetime movie freak. The worst movies in the world. Psycho Stepdad, Psycho Best Friend, Psycho Mom, Psycho who I met on the computer. And I watch them and they're horrible. But I just can't stop watching. Just horrible. I'd like to be in a Lifetime movie.
My father-in-law used to call that, the channel where the woman kills her husband. Yeah. That's what he called it.
I would like to be in a Lifetime movie. If you're out there, anybody. I got offered a Hallmark movie, but my schedule, I couldn't do it. I want to be in a Lifetime
You're
movie.
going to get whacked on a Lifetime movie.
Probably.
You'll be the abusive, stepdad.
The stepdad, it's always the cop is in on it. It's the same plot, basically. But I saw a great documentary on college basketball called Scheme on HBO. Really good. About this whole scandal recent, just took place a few years ago. And I got to tell you, if you watch it, it looks like a lot of entrapment by the FBI.
Oh, really?
I got to be honest. Yeah. I got to be honest, but very good. So
you sound like Bacala talking now.
Do I? Well,
FBI, a lot of entrapment. Right?
Of course, the Three Stooges is still playing, and that's always great.
Abbott and Costello. Did you like that?
That's the best.
The best. Yeah.
The absolute best.
Yeah.
Abbott and Costello. They're just, I don't care how many times I've seen it. And you know what I watch late at night? It's on like all night, every night, The King of Queens. Very underrated sitcom.
Yeah.
It's really funny. And I didn't watch it, when it first was out. And now in reruns, it's always on. And it's goddamn funny. Kevin James is funny. Leah Remini is funny. What else?
All right. I like on the Game Show Network, Match Game from the 70s. I like it for the clothes and seeing how drunk and high a lot of the, the guests are. Not the contestants, the famous people.
Yes.
A lot of they're smoking between take. A lot of them are drunk. You could see probably some of them are jacked up on who knows what. It's kind of bizarre to watch.
And what's his name? Gene Rayburn. He's got that microphone, the long one, right?
They don't use that much anymore.
No, that went out. Yeah.
Maybe we should bring that back on the podcast.
70s Match Game. God damn, you really got to get out more, man. I
got to get out more. Yeah, I definitely do. I don't watch that much TV. I mean, to be honest, I'm a bookworm. I spend much more of time doing that.
A real good show is Billions, also.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah.
And the new season's coming up.
Brian
really
Koppelman's
good, really well written. You got to
Smart.
pay a lot of attention, though. You got to really pay attention. There's a lot going on, but that's really good, also. And hopefully, people are watching the free Sopranos. They are streaming it for free HBO. So catch up on your Sopranos and Sex in the City and Game of Thrones, that Gladiator show.
The Gladiators of Game of Thrones. Yes. I don't think it was Gladiators.
All this HBO, The Wire. They're showing it all, man.
Right.
All right, and now we're doing episode 6.
Season 1, episode 6. It's called Pax Romana. Now, this is there's a bit of a storyline about Tony's goomahs, and from what I understand, you have some insight into the world of goomahs? Not personally, but growing up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, my father had a gumata, and he had 2 kids with a gumata. And they're out there somewhere with my last
Wait
name.
a second. Your father had a separate
A
family?
long time gumata that we didn't find out till later on. And there's 2 kids out there. I'm sure they're very nice. They're in, you know, their 50s now. And I
Wow.
met one kid
Wow.
one time.
Wow.
I met one. It was kind of weird. He came up to me. He called me Mr. Schirripa. And I know it's going to sound like a joke. I was with Arthur Nascarella, played Carlo. We took a walk on the boardwalk in Coney Island. And then we went to the Vegas Diner in Bensonhurst. I'm eating a tuna fish sandwich. And this young man comes up to me. He's Mr. Schirripa. It was right after the show ended. He's very nervous. And I felt bad for him. He said, I'm your brother. I said, it's not that exciting. Don't be nervous. It's really not that exciting. And we spoke for a little bit. And I've never really.
Wow.
There's a sister, a half sister also. Yeah, it's heavy. He had a gumata for, I guess, forever. I mean, I really don't know. But so you got that. But I wrote a book called The Goomah's Book of Love. And I talk about that a lot. I have a friend of mine who had a gumata, has a gumata, 45 years. And for the people that don't know what a gumata is, it's a mistress. It's a side piece. There's a million slang names to it. But it's basically you're married and this is your girlfriend. And the thing about a
Side
gumata,
piece is a rough one. That's in today's culture, that's not a PC.
So it's okay to
It's
date
very
a married.
Objectifying and
Really?
You know,
So it's okay to it's okay.
Gumata is nice. It has a ring to it. Side piece.
And I think
piece
I think the literal
like
name is
object. You think what?
I think the literal name of gumata is godmother, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, gumbata, combati means countryman, really, right?
Yeah, and friend, right. When a guy says my gumata was my best man,
Gumata is the feminine version of that.
A gumba, that's my buddy, my pal,
right.
My compadre, but a gumata is a mistress.
Yeah.
And they've been around since the beginning of time.
Since the gladiators.
I'm sure Adam and Eve, I'm sure Adam had a gumata at some point.
A gumata, probably.
I'm going to say that. So this episode, there's a lot of that. Irina, who's Tony's gumata. And I'll tell you a story. This happened to a friend of mine. True story. And when I was writing the book, The Goomah's Book of Love, he told me about it. So he's Friday nights, for whatever reason, has been designated the gumata night.
Well, you know why? Because Saturday nights, people are supposed to be home with their family. So you can't have an excuse to go out. Friday night, you could say I'm working late.
Okay.
Right? There you go.
So Friday nights, wise guys, all kinds of guys, not just wise guys. Everybody a lot of people have gumatas, mistresses. So he's with his gumata Friday night, this buddy of mine, and Saturday afternoon, he's got to go to a wedding out in Queens with his wife.
Right.
So they're all dressed up, it's 4:00, they got to go to the church, whatever they got to do. And he's driving, he sees a shoe in the back of the in the back seat. He looks over, the passenger's back seat, there's a shoe on the floor. He goes, holy shit. Oh my goodness, holy shit, my gumata, she must have left the shoe in the car last night. How the fuck am I going to get out of this? Blah, 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 blah. Long story short, he distracts his wife, grabs the shoe, throws it out the window. They pull up in front of the catering hall. The valet comes out. The wife can't find the shoe. He threw his wife's shoe out the window. True story.
That's great.
True gumata story.
Sounds like a lot of work.
Too much work for me.
There's an urban legend. And now we'll move on to the episode after this. An urban legend about 9/11. You probably heard this. I don't know if it's true. I don't know who it's about, but I've heard it from different people. A guy worked in the World Trade Center, right, in one of the offices. But on September 11, 2001, he's in a hotel with his girlfriend. The TV's off. They're in there having sex, whatever they're doing. The wife calls. She says, "Are you okay, honey?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." She goes, "Are you sure you okay? Where are you?" He goes, "I'm at work." She goes, "Everything's fine." He goes, "Yeah, everything's fine."
Busted.
Big time busted.
Busted. Oh, I believe that. I don't think that's an urban legend.
That's probably true.
And you know why? Like you say, why do girls go with married guys, even though they're not with them on holidays and Christmas and all the holidays, Christmas Eve, and because every night is like Christmas Eve, or every night's a great night. The guy has no headaches from the goomahs.
Probably in the beginning.
Buys her gifts. They go out to dinner, champagne. He treats her nice every night. So that's my theory, brother.
All right.
That's my bullshit.
You're 2/10. Pax Soprana, season 1, episode 6. Pax Soprana comes from the term Pax Romana, which means Roman peace, which was 200 years of peace in the Roman Empire, where they were prospering economically. They weren't really expanding. They weren't at war. A lot of the people were still slaves and oppressed and everything, but for the people in charge, there was a relatively peaceful time. This episode was the first one directed by Alan Taylor, who also directs the new Soprano prequel, The Many Saints of Newark. Alan Taylor shows up on the set, and I'm looking at this guy. I had heard about him because he did a really cool independent movie called Palookaville, which starred Adam Tracy, who was in Laws of Gravity with Edie Falco, as well as Robert Lupone, who plays Dr. Cusimano, and Shepard, who plays Edie's mother, and Frances McDormand was in that as well. But that was a very cool independent movie. But I recognized him when I was like 18 or 19. I did an NYU film, student film, which I answered an ad in the backstage newspaper, and Alan Taylor was the sound man, because directing students would work on each other's movies in different capacities. Everybody had to do sound and camera, directing. And I said, "Did you go to NYU?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, I said, "You remember that student film up in Riverdale in the Bronx in 1985? And he's like, "Oh my God." So we had worked together way back in the day.
Wow.
Alan went on to do Mad Men, Game of Thrones. He did
good guy.
Movies. Great director. He did Thor. Written by Frank Renzulli, who started out as an actor, was actually in Broadway Danny Rose as one of the
I remember that.
wise guys. But he did that series that Michael Rispoli was talking about, The Great Defender. He also did some Fear of the Walking Dead. He did The Walking Dead. Great writer, really funny guy. Really a lot of insight. Comes from Boston, but a lot of insight into this culture.
And he's also done acting since. I think he was in The Fighter. He played.
Was he really?
Yeah, I believe he played the manager, Christian Bale character. Also, Alan Taylor directed that great series, 7 episodes, the Gladiator series, Game of Thrones.
The Gladiators.
Yes, he did that.
Right. Gladiators make a lot of noise.
Yes. And Renzulli also, he wrote 8 episodes. Did you say that? 8 episodes.
8 episodes, great episodes too. He's a good writer, man.
And in person, he's a funny fucking guy. We got to get him on the show because he's a funny guy.
When I started writing on the show, season 2, my wife and I owned a bar at the time, and I used to write.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
I used to go in the basement and write in the basement until like 5 a.m. And I would call Renzulli, who was in L.A. The bar was in New York, in Chelsea. And I'd call him late at night and ask questions and just talk and bullshit. He'd be up all night long with me. We'd talk about all kinds of stuff. We had a
good
lot
guy,
of good
really good guy, and a funny guy. And hopefully he'll come on.
We got to have him on as a guest. I'm going to talk.
Absolutely. All right. So episode 6, Pax Soprana, right? We see it opens up the construction site. We got Vin, Lieutenant Vin. He looks like he's handicapping the horses on the construction site. He's a degenerate gambler.
Broke down.
Drunk, broken down valise, as they say back in the neighborhood. He's handicapping. He tells Tony, "I've been following Melfi. She shops at one of those fancy Italian stores where you can't find the fucking meatball. like a Dean and DeLuca, like that, like not Italian deli, not like Faico's, not the Palos, You know what I found interesting, and I know he's broken down and he owes Tony money, but Tony tells him he should knock the shit out of him for beating up Melfi's
beat
boyfriend.
Up the date.
Now, this is a lieutenant, a police lieutenant.
He's into him for a lot of money, obviously, and a lot of bad shit. But what's funny is Tony asks him, does the guy still come around? Obviously, Tony has an interest in who she's screwing and who she's seeing. There's an ego thing, there's a competition thing, and we'll see why later on in this episode.
Tony's usually used to getting what he wants, All right.
Very much so. Very selfish that way. So, yeah.
A great line, a throwaway line. He stuffs money in his pocket, buy an iron.
Buy an iron. Because
I wonder, one thing about the show is, very little, if none, ad-libbing, ever.
No.
I wonder if that was ad-libbed. I don't know.
I think that was in the script.
That was in the script.
Because Makazian's, he's disheveled. He's obviously probably not married, divorced. What he says, he's divorced 3 times.
Twice,
twice or whatever. Yeah. So that all makes sense.
Very funny. All right. Melfi's office. Tony tells Melfi, Carmela knows she's a woman. And Tony asks you, why didn't you run? You took me on as a patient. And this is a question I have for you. Why you think Tony got a female therapist?
Well, he says Cusimano suggested 3. 2 were Jewish and 1 was Italian, and that led it. I think I think it goes into his whole world. He's got these strong women characters that he can handle the mobsters. He can handle the wise guys, even though they drive him crazy, but he's in control of them. They have to kowtow to him. The women don't. The women are constantly, causing problems for him that he can't necessarily dominate, with his mother, with Carmela, even with his daughter to some degree. So I think he was naturally drawn to that in some subconscious way, that to be intimate, which is what you do, and with a therapist, he's going to need to do that with a woman and not a guy. I think he probably also would feel to open up to a man. I think he would feel too almost subservient to him.
Oh, okay.
And he can't do that with another man.
I just think I've never been to therapy, not yet anyway.
Well, maybe you should, Steve.
Yeah. Maybe you might be fucking right, pal.
That actually explains a lot, Steve. Now it all makes sense. All right.
But, I think I would rather go to a guy. I don't know if I want to tell a woman everything. I don't know. That's just me.
He also says, I feel like my life is an episode of Provolone something, I guess, which is a reference to 30-something. This 30-something was a TV show with a lot of family drama.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
And he's bringing coffee, So he's bringing coffee, and I think it's not just the seduction, which is part of it, because he does talk about he falls in love with her later on in this episode. It's a thing of control. I think he feels like, he's making moves to kind of start to dictate how this is going to go. And even though it's a very small gesture, I think there is something to that here,
You could see the look on her face. She doesn't say anything, but she doesn't like that he brought the coffee. You could see that.
No, because I think she knows what he's trying to do.
She bites her tongue. She doesn't say nothing. All right. So now the card game. You see Mikey Parmise, who's just a real fucking pain in the ass. He beats up the doorman. He comes in. They're having a card game. He kicks the guy, beats the shit out of him. He says, he tells everyone Junior Soprano's the boss now. They're not respecting the old arrangements. Also, the guy, Sammy, who's running the card game, tells him he's with Jimmy Altieri. And Mikey just doesn't give a shit and gives the guy a beat.
And that's a breach of protocol. When someone says they're with a wise guy, in a situation like this, which is obviously, somebody's involved here because it's an illegal gambling thing, you're supposed to defer to that protocol there, and at least have the guy look into it. And if you lie, forget it. Then you're in big trouble. But if that's the truth, then you got to talk it out. Great song at the beginning of this scene, by the way, Willy Nilly by Rufus Thomas, which was written by Isaac Hayes. But it's a great, right before you see them playing Five Card Stud, it's a great tune that just sets a nice mood there.
Go ahead.
Tailor store, right? That's the next scene here.
So you got
Salem
the Taylor
Ludwig. That's the actor. Salem Ludwig worked till he was 90 years old, was blacklisted in the 50s. He was in some really cool movies, one directed by Elia Kazan called America, America. He was in I Love You, Alice B. Toklas with Peter Sellers that Paul Mazursky wrote. But he was a, theater guy, Broadway guy, movie guy, blacklisted, called communist by McCarthy and Roy Cohn back then, and went on to have a career till he was 90 years old. Actor, studio guy, studied with Strasberg or worked with Strasberg, and was an acting teacher as well. But he plays the tailor here. He's great.
He's very good in it. He doesn't have that big a role, unfortunately, but very, very good. Junior's getting fitted for a custom suit, and he tells Junior, once again, which is what makes the show so great, just little things. It's a throwaway line. You still, he still kept slim. He could still buy off the rack. And he says, no, they're having a special thing for me. He wants a custom suit. And the tailor talks about, Junior asks him how his son is, and the tailor tells him his grandson committed suicide because there's a drug dealer, gave him drugs, and the kid kind of lost it and committed suicide, which upsets Junior very much. And of course, Mikey Palmisi, because like he did with Jackie Aprile in the hospital, talks too much, and he's describing
he says that was your grandson. Yeah, it was a horrible
he hit his head on the rock, and he's just an imbecile.
Mikey is a great dresser, though. That suit he's wearing, and he's got this pale green suit with a white knit shirt. I mean, you look at Mikey's wardrobe, Mr.
And he's
GQ,
also he's a good-looking guy. He's slim.
His clothes are great, and Junior mentions these guys would be buried in their jogging suits if they could. When did jogging suits become a thing?
I would say in the 80s. In the 80s.
But not in the 70s. That was an 80s thing, right?
I think it was an 80s thing. For sure. Sergio Tacchini, is that 80s, 90s? That it became in the 80s, 90s with jogging suits. I did not wear a jogging suit in the 70s that I recall. But everyone had them. I had a velour one. I had a nice velour one where the sleeves came off. I had a highline one.
I had a Pierre Cardin. That was nice. That was
and
the
then,
first
you know
one
what I had, which I actually liked, which was in the 2000s, was Puff Daddy had Sean John.
I had one of those. Black one.
That was nice.
As Junior's pissed off, he says, I want to know this motherless fuck's name. And then a quick cut to Livia's face when he says, I want to know this motherless fuck's name. Cut to big close-up of Livia. It's a tremendous cut. It just says so much about what's happening here. It's great.
Good.
We go to the nursing home or the retirement community, whatever we call it here. Livia, it's great. Great performance.
Always good. Never bad. Right on the money. She tells Junior she's happy for him. I know you've waited to become the boss, how long you've waited. And she throws a little fucking zinger. I don't want you to get taken advantage of your good nature like they did to Johnny. Meaning his brother, Livia's wife, Tony's father. And Livia wants hashtags.
To spite her son, basically.
A very funny line. She says, he says, even the coffee is old. And she goes, if you complain too much, they find you with a broken hip.
Right.
so like, in other words, you complain too much, they retired mid-community boss, whatever, they're going to fucking rough her up.
Right.
That's what she's implying. And so a guy in a walker stops by. He says, are you a new, are you a new tenant or whatever you call him? And he goes, come on, keep it moving, fella. Very funny. Very funny. Throwaway lines, laugh out loud funny.
She says, who heard of a Jew riding horses? An
Is,
Italian, I guess, is okay to ride a horse, but not a Jew, I guess. She's just stirring shit. She loves to do it.
And she calls a lot of the shots, as we see. She's the puppet master. She's manipulating Junior the whole way so far.
And Junior's wearing Johnny's cologne. I guess she notices he's wearing canoe which is what Johnny wore. Is Junior trying to emulate his brother? Is he,
Maybe.
Does he think that has something to do with being boss?
She
Interesting.
says, you smell like a French bouton.
Right. When Nancy was in the hospital towards the end of her life, I went to visit her. I think Johnny V and I, Ventimiglia and I went to visit her. And she said she had a radio in her room. And she said, do me a favor, turn the radio back to the classical station. She goes, I got this nurse who likes jazz. And then when I go out to do my test in the morning, I come back and the jazz is playing. And then I'm in bed and I'm too tired to get up and change it. And I don't like jazz.
She sounded like Livia.
She said, please put the classical. So I went and put the classical back on for her. And
that's funny. That's funny.
But she was,
I only met her a couple times. She was very nice. I never had a scene with her, unfortunately. I know you did. And right, you had a scene with her?
Yeah. At one point, I think we did.
And Johnny V did. Johnny V, Artie Bucco certainly did. All right. So next up, we're in with Irina. I guess they're in a hotel room or her apartment, whatever. Tony's having a problem getting a hard on. They get into an argument. He's trying to change the subject and having small talk. And she always says, I'm not a whore. I'm not a whore. I'm not a whore. He throws it $100. I'm not a whore. She throws the candle at him. It burns him. And he calls her a communist cunt. You refugee, it's just insanity. And so he's got his wife, the daughter, the mother, and the gomada, which is supposed to give him a little pleasure. It's not happening.
And now the therapist. A lot of women, causing him a lot of strife. A lot of his, he says, if I were a dildo, he says something like, he said,
if I was a dildo, if you were a dildo, we won't be having this problem, she said.
Yeah.
I've never met her. Does she talk with that accent all the time?
Yeah, she does. She's great.
Oh,
I thought she did a great job in that role. Very.
Fantastic. Really good.
Oksana Lada. She's really very good.
She's really good. All right. The back of the pork store, we see Christopher very little.
Nice, yeah. Nice tracking shot, though, to see how the pork store, the front room, the actual butcher shop going into the back room where we hang out. It's cool.
Christopher walks in like he's the king. He grabs a piece of ham or whatever that was. That's when you ate meat. You don't eat meat anymore.
I don't. Now they'd have to have Beyond Prosciutto.
Beyond Prosciutto. Yeah. And I see you're flirting with the girl a little. Christopher's flirting. You probably banged her at some point.
Probably.
Christopher, not Michael. Christopher. Now, the back of the pork store is on the set, even back then, correct?
No, we shot at that was at the pork store.
Because later on, it's the set on.
Later on, but early on, it was there. In
okay.
Kearney, New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah. All right. You tell Tony Hesh wants to talk to you. It's important. Next scene, Tony and Hesh.
They're playing a great line, though. In the card, they're playing cards there. I've eaten more queens than Lancelot. That's great.
Yeah, folks.
Gotcha.
Okay, now let's get back to Hesh on the street.
Hesh. Now, a little bit about Jerry Adler, because this is very interesting. Jerry Adler was a Broadway director, as well as an actor.
A stage manager also.
Stage manager. He was a stage manager for Broadway production of I Remember Mama in the early 50s, which was Marlon Brando's first Broadway show.
Oh, wow.
Jerry also comes from a theater family. His uncle was the famous Yiddish theater actor Jacob Adler, who was the father of Stella Adler, the very famous acting teacher who was Brando's teacher.
Who still has Stella Adler schools. They're still on.
Yeah, she died a while. I took one class with her, but I didn't last with her. I didn't really.
She's tough.
Nah, I was already with a different teacher. I had a different approach. I didn't quite mesh with her approach. Benicio del Toro studied with Stella Adler. She was a very big influence on him. He talks very fondly about her.
Richard Scanlon, who was my acting coach during the Soprano years, he worked for Stella Adler. That's who I worked with for like 8 years. Also, Jerry, I think, is about 90 now, at least 90. His daughter's a big agent. who
Really?
represents him. And Jerry also had a big role in Mad About You. And he's
And
still working.
wasn't he in the play, the Larry David play, The Fish in the Dark?
Oh, yeah,
He was in
absolutely.
that, right? Yeah, on Broadway.
And he's still working. Jerry's a really good-hearted, nice disposition,
Yeah.
good guy to be
And
around.
he's great in this episode, in this scene, on all the scenes in this episode particularly, but in all of them. But this one really showcases him, this episode.
So he tells Tony, he tells Tony that Junior wants to tax him a ridiculous amount of money, 500,000 or something, and he says, I'm gonna have to leave the area. He wants to tax me that and 2 points off my shy, and he says, I'll just go live off of my record royalties.
Right.
You know, he said, I wrote 6 gold records or whatever he tells him, and Tony reminds him
that he didn't write them, that black people wrote them.
And he just put his name to it, which happened a lot in the 50s.
Oh, particularly Morris Levy or Levy. He was Frankie Lyman, The Teenagers, Why Do Fools Fall in Love? I think he's credited as one of the writers, but he didn't really write it. But he was, I think Hesh is kind of loosely associated with that guy, with Morris Levy.
And that happened a lot. A lot of these groups just got ripped off so bad.
Ripped
so
off,
horrible.
Screwed
just
over.
horrible stories,
Nice shot at the end of that scene from the alley looking at Tony as Hesh walks away. It's just a weird little, kind of end capper to the scene, but a very cool one.
So, and then let me ask you something. So, I think you talked about it in another episode. So, they're having these tone meetings. Is someone telling Alan to do that shot?
Not necessarily. That probably was Alan.
Alan Taylor, that was him. So they have leeway with that. You know what I mean, right? The director?
Yeah, with designing shots, yeah. Tone meetings more about what the writers feel should be communicated in the script, because sometimes you can interpret things a different way. You know what I mean? And acting choices, like make sure he's angry in the scene, make sure this comes off as funny, getting on the same page. But in terms of shots, usually that would be up to the director and the cinematographer. Alex.
All right, the bedroom. Tony has a dream. He's in his own bedroom. He's singing along, right? What time is it?
What time is it by the Jive 5, which is kind of like a song Hesh probably would have been involved in. That's
exactly
great that they chose that,
Tony's dreaming he's getting a blowjob. You assume at first that it's Irina, his gumara, but the dark hair, you hear Tony, I love your cannoli. And it's Melfi. So he's dreaming about Melfi. He cannot get Melfi off of his mind.
And for anyone that doesn't know what a cannoli is, it's a kind of a hard shell pastry with cream inside.
And it's about 6 inches long.
Right. About, yeah. There are many cannolis in there.
It's Tony and Carmela's 18th anniversary. And you see for the first time Johnny Sachs, played by Vince Curatola. He's the New York boss.
And they're in New York. They're in Manhattan having dinner down in the city.
And you see Tony at the bar explaining to him that he wants his help, him sticking up for Hesh. And Carmela's pissed because Tony's over there. He says, I'm only there for 10 minutes. She's all pissy. I didn't know we were celebrating our anniversary. Us two and Johnny Sack. The veal is no good. Tastes like rubber, blah, blah, blah. We've all been there, man. We've all been there.
He suggests going to the plaza for their, anniversary. She doesn't want to. That's where Victoria and I spent our wedding night at the plaza.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But she first says, I thought we would go to the plaza. And then later on, he says, let me call the plaza. And now she doesn't want to go.
Right.
How was that? That must have cost some money. Did you have a big suite?
My parents bought it for me as a gift.
Is that when Trump owned it? Trump owned it then?
I don't know. I don't remember. 96, maybe. Great cut here from that. It cuts to the car pulling into the driveway with the noise, pulling in the garage with the noise of the garage door. Very kind of discordant and harsh. It's wet. It looks cold. You know, it's just the shot and the elements of it are so evocative of the mood between them in that scene. It's really great.
And you didn't know it was raining until you see the car's wet.
You see the car and it's cold and it's wet. And then, you know, they talk in the car. You know, she says that you've changed, Tony, and I resent it, that he's been destroying her self-esteem. And I guess part of this is coming off the last episode with Father Phil and whatever feelings that he's been awakening in her. It's interesting.
But, you know, she says something, you're the mother of my children. And she says, I think you skeeve me. And, you know, skeeve is I don't know if it's it's a slang term for not wanting to think I'm kind of disgusting. You're not, you know, you don't want to go near me. You don't want to touch me. And he tells her that he blames the Prozac. And she says, I don't know, one of her friends is on Prozac and she'd hump a fire hydrant. Right. Once again, a throwaway, very funny line. She's not buying that. And, you know, and he tells her, Melfi, Dr. Melfi said it's a side effect of the Prozac. Oh, she told you. Wrong fucking thing to say. He can't win on any level here. Melfi's office. She takes the call about her car is broken. She says, I need to take this. I'm sorry. Brings her coffee again.
You know what's interesting?
She says,
the fact that he can't have sex, right? He's impotent. He's becoming impotent in this episode. Now she's talking about getting her car fixed. The dream he has in the pilot, his penis falls off. The bird takes it, and then he's looking for the guy who fixed his Lincoln to reattach his penis.
So this is connected.
Yeah, it's got to be. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
Very reflective of that first dream.
See, I would have never put that together. You know, I watch it as a fan. I would have never put that together.
I don't know. Well, it seems like it's there. There's a lot underneath the surface here.
She tells Tony, don't bring the coffee anymore. I don't want any gifts from you. Blah, 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 right? She tells him that. I don't want anything. Carmela is buying, you see, she's buying a ton of furniture. And he's yelling, but not telling her not to do it. Why she's doing this? Does she want attention? Is she being spiteful? I don't know. You know? Back to the pork store. The captains, the three captains, meet with Tony about Hesh.
Tony and Hesh are acting like they've never spoken in front of Junior.
Yes.
They're both very good, very slick, pretending.
It's a really good scene there. Very good scene.
Yeah, they're playing Junior like a violin, basically.
It's a setup. Johnny sticks up for Hesh. They get it down to 250 from the 500 and 1.5 points on the Shylock. And Junior says, you know, you got to hold on to your cock when dealing with these desert people, meaning with Jewish people.
Right.
Very funny line. Once again, you know, bathroom scene. Tony has another dream, right? He keeps dreaming about Melfi. He's in bed with Carmela. He's taking a piss. He looks over. Melfi's in the shower naked. She says, I don't know, she calls him. She says something to him. I didn't quite get it. She said something to Tony. And Carmela wakes up and she says, Tony's kind of leaning on her. And she says, you want sex? It certainly looks happy to give it at, 2, 3 in the morning.
But he's not interested. He's all messed up. There's too many. It's like this big triangle, even more complicated than the triangle. It's with Melfi and Carmela and his girlfriend, and it's all like messing with his head. Now he's asking his girlfriend to dress like Melfi. She doesn't dress like a businesswoman, and she thinks she means like be like a hooker. And he's like, no.
First she says, you mean like a man.
Like a man, right. That's great.
She's tough, boy. She tells him to go jerk off. She tells him in the scene she's pissed. She slams. She goes into the bathroom. She seems always pissed. You know what I mean? She might be nice looking, but you're supposed to go there to have fun, to get away from your life for an hour or two. It's certainly not happening. He's getting it from every direction, man.
But I think that's partly him. He wants it, somehow he creates drama with women. That's why we have this show, probably. Now he goes to therapy again with Melfi. Blames Carmela for the burn. Doesn't want to be honest that he has a girlfriend, which is very strange, as he's in therapy, right?
Yeah.
Now he's falling in love with her. He's attracted to Melfi, and he's making up lies about his personal life. So maybe she'll find him more appealing. It's very complicated, very overwhelming.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he doesn't want to admit that he's got a goomah, that he, screws around. So he's blaming Carmela for everything. He tells her, doesn't he tell her that I asked her to dress up? And she said, well, not everyone likes sexy lingerie. Not every woman feels comfortable. And he goes, I want her to dress like you. Right. So he wants her to think that it's all his wife. It's his wife's fault. And maybe he's making his move, kind of, right?
Yeah, he says you have a killer body. He says that you're gentle and you're mandolin. And she kind of, basically says, I'm basically working. I'm not doing this for your benefit. But what's very interesting in this scene, Melfi and Tony are wearing pretty much exactly the same colored clothes. And what I think is happening is the concept of transference, which is why, what somebody does, they transfer their feelings to their therapist, the feelings that they're dealing with projected onto the therapist. And visually, that's what they're doing here. They have the same exact color of clothes on, the same shade, the same tones. It's as if Tony's projecting himself onto her. She's becoming another aspect of him.
Now when he tries to kiss her, what got me was she doesn't push away violently. She doesn't go, God, what are you, crazy? What are you, out of your mind? Not that she enjoys it, just that I would have thought the reaction would have been, get away from me. But she takes it very much in stride. Maybe it's not the first time it's happened.
Very professional.
And she says, let's talk about it some more, But I guess a lot of people fall in love with their therapist.
Yeah, that's the concept, the transference. That's part of it. One aspect of transference in therapy.
They're both wearing green, right? They're wearing green.
They're wearing like a muted grayish green tone. Yeah, it's interesting. But it's so similar, it's got to be deliberate.
Melfi's at home. She's reading a book. She hears people outside. She's scared. She looks out the window. She sees a car driving away. Next scene, the auto shop. She brings it in. Very funny. The guy, the mechanic comes out. He's got a turban on.
He's like I guess he's a Sikh. He has a beard and a turban. But that's some of the specificities we've talked about that are in the script. It's not just a mechanic rolls out of the thing. A Sikh mechanic wearing a turban and a beard with an Indian accent or Bengali accent or something comes from under a car.
Very specific.
Yeah.
And he says, as much as I'd love to rob you, it's a brand new starter. It almost has the receipt on it.
But this is Tony's way, the whole thing about control. Like he wants to have power in the relationship with Melfi. It's not enough for him to just be in therapy. And part of it is this, doing things, getting her car fixed. So she's, he's used to doing favors so people are in his debt.
That's how the mob usually works. You ask for a favor, you're indebted, and you're fucked. We saw it in Goodfellas. The Tony Darrow character, great scene. He's got the restaurant. He asks Paul Savino for help. Paul, it's all a setup. What do I know? What do I know about running a restaurant? All right. You need help? I'll help you. Next thing you know, they're busting the place out. This is kind of how they operate. It's their MO. And Tony, once again, almost always gets his way. Always. When it comes to women, the outside world. he finds a way to make it happen.
Right.
And
And not with Melfi.
Not with Melfi.
And that frustrates him.
Mikey throws Rusty Irish, who works for Larry Baris, he was the guy who sold the grandson of the tailor the drugs. He's a known neighborhood drug dealer. And they, in cold blood, in the middle of the afternoon, they throw the guy off the bridge and kill him.
That's the Great Falls over the Passaic River. And Alexander Hamilton, when he was president, the government commissioned that canals be built to make paper mills down there.
Really?
Yeah. Very important place in New Jersey.
You guys have shot there. You guys shot there the first season a lot.
The pilot they did, remember, with the guy in the gambler guy in the first scene.
The guy that you guys ran over. Now we're in the pork store. The capos come. You got Larry Beret, Shimmy Altieri. I don't know. What's George Laurel's character's name? I'm sorry. Do you know?
George Laurel's. I forgot.
Well, we'll get that. We'll get that to you. So the three guys, the three captains come to see Tony complaining about Junior, and Larry Beret says, this guy was my biggest earner. The other guy says, did this guy mention my name? You know, he's becoming a monster, a Frankenstein. Tony said, this is what you wanted. Nobody wanted the top spot. He's saying Junior eats alone. There's that old saying, they don't say it here. His name's Ray Curto.
George Loris.
George Loris. There's an old Bob saying, a friend of mine in Vegas used to tell me all the time, you eat alone, you choke. You know, they don't watch out for anybody else. You eat alone, you choke. So basically, that's what's going on with that. Junior's got too much power, and he's wielding it, you know?
Yeah, something's got to be done. That's basically it. I think Tony is kind of happy about this a little bit. I think it gives him a little bit of pleasure that Junior is, the boss now and making people pissed off. There's something there, I think. I felt that in the scene from Jim, from Gandolfini.
Well, there's a lot of guys just in regular life, they want to see you fail. You know that?
Yeah.
A lot of people tell you, I'm happy for you, I'm happy for you. They want you to fall on your ass. You know that?
But also maybe it makes him, because he wants to be boss. And it's going to prove that that Junior's not the right guy. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
So Tony now visits Livia. You know, he knows that Junior comes by there. He knows that she's got his ear. It's a very funny scene when he's knocking on the door. She says, the lady in charge of events, she doesn't want to answer the door right away. And there's an old lady who's a big character actor. You've seen her in a million things. And Livia introduces her, Millie. Millie, this is my son. And very sarcastically, she goes, handsome. And you see the look on Tony's face when he's closing the door, like she just fucking kind of insulted him. Yeah, he's handsome. You could tell she doesn't really mean it, And
Livia says she's a degenerate gambler, which is hilarious.
Because she's going down to bingo. Millie says, you're going to bingo, degenerate gambler.
But she's kind of happier, much happier in this scene to see Tony, which she hasn't been in the past. She accepts the biscuit, which last time with the macaroon, she wouldn't accept it. I don't know. She seems a little bit more, a little warmer to Tony in this scene.
A little bit. She's complaining about the lady using water next door all day long. She runs the water. What'd she say? I'm living next door to Gunga Din.
The Gunga Din, yeah.
And also, when he says, I brought you the biscuits from Ferraris, she says, with almonds?
And he says,
and she likes that. I'll have it with my coffee.
Yeah.
All right.
Now we're in the church.
Father Phil.
Carmela's blaming herself for the problems with Tony, and talk about divorce. And he says, divorce is for the weak, for people who never intended on dying married. This is very, and you're getting marriage advice from
A guy that's
priest.
never been married.
That's never going to be married, right? Although my parents, they got married in the Bronx by a guy named Father Dominic, who left like 20 years later, left the priesthood and got married.
Hey, when my parents got married, the priest, Father Donovan, tried to. My mother was Jewish. My father was Catholic. He tried to talk them out of it. He came
Really?
over the house and tried to talk them out of it. I also was very friendly with a priest in Vegas, a Father Dave, who used to hang out at the Crazy Horse strip club. No lie.
Wow.
He's still in Vegas. The Crazy Horse, he was there all the time. He was friends with our pal Ricky, and the priest was there.
Our
There's a
Lady of
big
the
hum
Lap
there.
Dance. Yeah.
I listen, I never said, I'm not saying he did anything wrong. I just find that, you're supposed to be celibate. That's tough. That's a
No,
tough
I don't think that's approved by the Vatican.
No,
it's not on the
they
list.
don't go.
I don't think so.
Maybe if they say 6 feet apart, social distancing, you could, as long as you don't get a lap dance. You turn the collar around, Father. Something
Maybe
like that.
Maybe he was hearing confessions in the
Maybe
in the VIP room. It's great, but he says, you're not without sin, Carmela. Father Phil says that to her. You're not without sin.
She says I could handle the goomahs because they don't mean anything. It's a form of masturbation. This is what she's, how she's done in her head to let her accept it. But since with Melfi, she feels he's really cheating because this is
Right.
a legit woman, and she thinks they're having an affair. And he says, say a prayer, because that'll fix it. Say a prayer, and everything's okay. And you reap what you sow, he tells her. And
right, because she allowed the goomahs to take the pressure off her. She allowed the goomah to fill the needs that he had that she was supposed to fulfill because she was busy with the house and the kids and whatever.
So this is how she justified it.
She digests this. She takes it in. She hears it.
We're back to Melfi. She asked him, "Did you steal my car and have it fixed?" He tells her, "I love you. I'm in love with you. I'm sorry." Melfi says, "You've made me all of the things you feel are missing in your wife and in your mother."
Right. She's not giving in to whatever he's trying to do. She says, it's my job to be gentle. It's not because, he wants to think that his ego thinks that she's probably attracted to him. Because obviously a lot of women are. He's a guy in power. He's a handsome guy. He's got money. He's generous and stuff. And he thinks that charm or whatever, that charisma is going to work on her. And it's not.
So Tony's pissed. And she says, this is because we're making progress. That's why he feels this way.
That's very important. Yeah.
And she asks, is someone following me? What else have you done? And it looks like Tony's almost wants to tell her that, that the lieutenant, beat up her boyfriend, but you see, he kind of bites his tongue. Interesting. Very interesting. They're at the baseball game. Now, explain this to me more. This is where you get Pax Soprana and Tony and Junior watching the kids' game, and Tony's talking to Junior about leadership, and he's got Augusta and the Romans and Caesar.
I remember Augustus was married to Livia in the Roman Empire. But he's basically saying, if everybody's happy, we're all going to make more money. If you're just going to eat alone, people, you're going to cause problems. People are going to get pissed off, and it's going to, they're going to steal from you, or they're going to, whatever, basically. Is that if everybody's happy, we're all going to be happy, is what he's saying. What's interesting at the top of the scene is Junior kind of kissing Tony's ass, saying, you had that Joe D swing, you could have been a pro baseball, and he's always, before we haven't seen this yet.
This is the first time.
Yeah.
But because
I guess he's happy.
Junior's happy. He's got the top spot. He says, he batted 500 in chasing skirts, but Junior gets it loud and clear. Tony explains it, maybe a little long-winded, but he gets it. Next thing you know, Hesh, they're at the horse farm. Tony, I don't want the fucking job. And he is kind of envious of the horses. They got no problems. They fuck who they want when they want. There's, no money problems, no nothing. You're,
Right.
you're grazing in the grass, man,
A little foreshadowing of Pyomai, which happens down the road when they finally. What's Pyomai's real name? Goldie.
I forgot.
Goldie.
Goldie.
Yeah.
And then Hesh, who's always looking for an angle. He's smarter than all of them. And Tony tells him that they delved out to $50,000 to each captain. Junior shared, and Hesh is looking at him, and Tony gives him his 50 back. If Hesh wouldn't have said nothing or gave him that look, Tony would have kept the 50 grand.
Yeah, I mean, Tony doesn't offer up that he got it. He said the captains. He didn't say he does, but Hesh knows.
And Tony brings it with him just in case. But
Tony's got a soft spot for him, without a doubt. That I think he inherited from his father, from Tony's father, from Johnny Soprano. That Johnny probably said Hesh is the best. Take care of him. Look out for him. He
is helpful. He is the voice of reason.
He's very sharp and smart, and he's a good ally, a good earner.
He's a street guy, and he's a smart guy. The pool house, Tony and Carmela sit next to each other. Carmela tells him she was jealous about Melfi. She wants to be that woman in your life, the one to help him.
Which is a big thing, a big thing for her to say. In this scene, Carmela's wearing a very bright orange shirt. Tony's got a black and white. It's almost like the police very extreme, as opposed to the other scene with Melfi where they're the same thing. It seems like she's really making an effort to be, what she, to be what she's supposed to be,
She's wearing a ton of jewelry, just a ton of jewelry.
Yeah. Oh, is she in that scene?
A ton of jewelry. They reconcile. He tells her, you're not in my life. You are my life. Edie Falco, somewhere I read, said that was one of her favorite scenes. It's a great scene.
Right. Well acted by both of them. Jim is great in this whole episode, I have to say. In all these scenes, man. He's so subtle and honest, and just really, really great. And the two of them in this is wonderful together. Great scene.
Junior, they're having the party for Junior. All the bosses are there. They raise a glass, salute, and the waiter is wearing a camera, taking pictures of everyone one at a time. Junior, Tony, Larry Baris, Johnny Sack. And then it ends in the Fed's office where they have the pictures of everyone. Jackie April, who passed away, the old boss, he goes away. They know Junior's the top guy.
And the song is playing called Paparazzi. Photographs, I guess, is the connection there. By Exhibit does a song. The waiter, who's the FBI guy, he's got this hidden camera, but his name is John. I don't know if that's somehow a weird connection to Johnny Soprano, that Junior's inheriting this problem from him. I don't know, but that's just interesting.
It was a great episode, a different kind of episode.
I thought it was really good. Yeah. It sets up a lot of things into, it's setting up a lot of things that are going to come.
I mean, the work, the acting, Edie is so incredible. She makes it look effortless,
Yeah, she's very special.
And if you know Edie, she's nothing like that. And nor is Jim. Jim was a Birkenstock wearing bandana.
He's like a hippie.
Like a hippie guy. Dominic is the gentlest guy ever. You're not like Christopher at all.
Edie doesn't cook. Like, she'd meet a lot of fans who thought they were like, she was like Carmela, knew how to cook baked ziti and eggplant. And Edie doesn't cook at all. Edie's an artist.
Yeah, the fake nails, the jewelry, the fake nails. I mean, it's really something. It really is something. It's a great, great show. I am so happy to have watching it again.
Yeah,
really.
Good one. All right. This episode of Talking Sopranos is supported by Bose headphones. You can experience immersive audio anywhere with the Bose Noise Canceling Headphone 700. Now, the winner of our Ask Me Anything Best Question of the Week is Ben from Elizabeth. And we're sending a pair of Bose headphones to Ben from Elizabeth. I'm assuming Elizabeth, New Jersey. Right?
I would assume. That I don't know, but Ben asks. So this is the question. He asks, when people approach you on the street, do they usually refer to you by your real names or character names? And if character names, does that bother you? Does it bother you when someone says, hey, Chrissy, where's Adriana? Chrissy.
You know, any exchange with like somebody on the street, a fan, always depends on that person's their energy and their vibe, their intention, who they are. It's always different. So, you know, I get called. Mostly people call me by my name,
Michael?
especially now. Yeah, but yeah, I hear Spider, Christopher, mostly Christopher or Michael, but mostly Michael. But every interaction with a fan is different based on that person. And, you know, some people are great. Some people are nice. Some people are idiots. Some people are morons.
Sure.
Some people are fantastic. You know how it is.
Well, 99% of the time, they're very nice. I love you.
I wouldn't say 99.
Really? Oh, you've been having some fucking
I'd
beefs.
say maybe
beefs?
90.
90.
Maybe 90.
So
90.
of 100 people that come up to you, 10 of them are jack-offs, you're saying?
Maybe.
Wow. See, I don't have that experience that bad.
You're lucky. What could I say?
So they call me Bobby. It used to be really bad. Bobby, where's Junior?
Not Bacala, Bobby.
Yeah, no, sometimes Bacala, Bobby, Bacala, but mostly Bobby. Sometimes you would get people call you Tony. You know, it's like,
yeah, I get people call, hey, Anthony or Vincent.
It's like, what are you fucking
don't
talking
know
about?
what's happening. Yeah.
I don't know if some people just lose, you know, just get nervous maybe. Now I get a lot of Anthony because of Blue Bloods. I get a lot of that. It does not bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. Call me by my character name. I know a lot of actors don't like it. If someone calls me Steve, I think they know me. Wow, who the fuck is this guy, Steve? I get it a lot more than I used to. It doesn't bother me. But Peter Bogdanovich, when he directed, I don't know what season, he kept calling me Bobby. He never bothered to call me Steve.
Yeah, that's
Bobby,
not cool.
Bobby here, Bobby there, Bobby there. And I roll with the punches. I know he's got a lot of people, and I just said it's okay, you know, to myself. I'm not going, hey, my name's fucking Steve, you know. I just rolled along with it. But it doesn't bother me. You know, maybe at one time, and most of the people are nice. Sometimes you get people that make you feel uncomfortable, you know. I think sometimes they don't know how to, you know, they don't know.
Yeah.
They take a picture of you.
For some people, it's very weird to see some people have never seen, you know, someone from TV in person or famous person in you know, live. It's a weird thing, and I understand that.
But it doesn't bother me. And like I say, I've had, you know, pretty good, you know, some fans are really, really great, man. You know, they're really great.
Well, thanks, Bobby. This was a good show.
Sure thing, Chrissy. Where's Adriana? So Father Dave, there's no strip clubs in Vegas now, so I don't know what's happening.
Yeah, he's got a lot of time on his hands.
I don't know what's happening with the father. There's no church, no strip joints. I don't know if he gambled. Maybe he played the slots. I don't know. That remains to be seen.
That remains to be seen. I have to make one quick, brief apology from the episode with Michael Rispoli when we were talking about Judith Molina, who we had worked with on Household Saints, and I wasn't sure if she was on The Sopranos. Of course she was. She played Paulie's mother, who was he didn't know it was his mother. It was his aunt who was the nun who was really his mother. That's a great Judith Molina legend in the theater world. You know, anybody interested in theater, look up Judith Molina.
And so someone corrected me. I want to say maybe in episode 1, certainly in episode 5, they said, Tony says he went to college for a semester and a half. I know
Seton
Freud. And I said he went to college for a year and a half.
Okay.
So, 2 different
Close
things.
enough for me, Steve.
Listen,
no apology necessary, please.
But people, you know, write in. They, you know, they, you know, some people want to let you know, and it's okay.
Yeah,
You
nobody
know?
told me that. I looked up Judith Malina because I was thinking about her because I'm such a fan of hers. So.
Hey, Chrissy, how about you're gonna leave here today? A guy, you're gonna walk outside. Judith Molina was on the fucking Sopranos, Chrissy. What happens if a guy says
That
that?
would make me very happy, actually.
Yeah.
That would mean they're paying attention to the right things.
All right, man. So thanks for listening. And remember to subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast, wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And please like us on Facebook.
Our executive producer is Jeff Sussman. Producer is Andy Verderam. Our music was composed and performed by Elijah Amerton, who used to go by the name Community Room for a brief time, but is now using his own name, Elijah Amerton, a very talented composer, musician. Our production crew includes Eric Desi, Bobby Hutch, Frank McKay, and Ty Verderam. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
And I got to give a thanks to my daughter, Sierra Schirripa, who sets all this up for me because, I don't have a fucking clue, man. So she's been a huge help to me.
Good job, Sierra.
All right, brother.
All right,
we'll talk to you soon. You take care of yourself.
Next show, we have the great Robert Eiler as our special guest.
Yes, looking
Very
forward
exciting.
to talking to him. Very much so.
All right.
I'll see you, my friend.
See ya.